Hi everyone! Today we're going to be doing another romance run. This is going to be our first episode of the Sam route. So you guys have probably just seen the introduction from the YouTube, the last YouTube video. But if you didn't know, that introduction is for every single of the main routes except for Suzu and Naomi. So make sure you go check out that introduction if you haven't already, before you come here, because this is where the actual routes are beginning. This is going to be focusing on Sam's route specifically. You probably don't, if you haven't played this game before and you don't know who Sam is, you will soon. I promise you that. You will soon. That's when I saw them. Lying on the floor was a group of men. They were all unconscious, but there was no explanation as to why they were there in the first place. I dropped my bags as I let the door close on its own behind me. Huh? Who the heck are these guys? Why are they here? What's going on? Some of them had open wounds. The blood was staining the floor and the scent was intermingling with the air. I couldn't help but feel bad for them instinctively, but nevertheless I was shocked and a bit angry at the sudden intrusion. My mind suddenly went from caring and concerned to confusing and demanding answers. Confused and demanding answers, sorry. Who are you guys? No response. I'll call the police! Still nothing. None of them seemed to be awake to answer or respond to me. It seemed surreal to have random strangers in the house I just moved into. But I wanted answers, quickly. That was until... Get away from me!
Woman, you're going to let me kiss you.
I couldn't believe it myself, but within a mere blink of an eye, one of the men went from laying on the floor to being right in front of my face. What was even more odd was the fact that I felt serene and calm about it. Slowly, a desire burned from my chest, telling me to accept his kiss, even when my mind vehemently refused. Go ahead.
Good.
As he kissed me, I could feel my body go weak. I didn't know why, but the kiss was draining me of my energy, and yet it was so good and made my heart sing. It was a strange and tingling feeling that danced over every nerve on my body. I could feel streams of intangible energy run up my body into my lips. It felt odd, but at the same time, it felt amazing.
Sam, stop it.
The person kissing me. Sam was his name? Glanced behind him.
I said stop. Now.
Fine.
Finally, he pulled back and I was left standing there in a daze. What? Huh? I couldn't tell what was going on. My mind was completely enwrapped by the kiss in my thoughts that melted into the depths of my forgotten memories.
Please forgive my brother. He's a bit reckless.
At least I feel a hell of a lot better than you right now.
Because you used your abilities on her.
Sam, you're such a reckless brute. Taking advantage of a beautiful young woman like her.
Shut that pretty boy mouth of yours before I rip it off your pretty boy face.
Sheesh, you guys. Can we not fight right now? Not all of us are in the best state.
I guess you are right, Matthew.
I agree.
However, as the men got up and started to chat freely, my thoughts began to reassemble, and I remembered my confusion and anger once again. Only now multiplied tenfold. What?
Huh? Did you say something beautiful?
And I exploded. What's going on? Why the hell are you all here in my house? Why are you all wounded? Why do you kiss me? Who are you guys? I couldn't help exploding, but after being taken advantage of and being left in a mush state, my words escaped without filter. I definitely scared the men around me. Even the man who kissed me. Wait a second. The guy who kissed me.
Ouch! What's your problem?
What's your problem? You can't just go around forcing people to kiss you like that. Are you some kind of pervert?
Pervert! It was only a kiss!
It might have been nothing to you, but it means a lot to me.
What? Was it your first kiss? Ow! Hey! What was that for?
I know first kisses aren't exactly amazing and full of sparkles and something out of a fairy tale, but I had at least expected it to be more than just something forced.
So it was your first kiss. Stop making such a big deal out of it.
Are you asking to get punched again?
Well, what do you want me to do? It's not like I can somehow take it back.
You should at least apologize. That would suffice. As if, to himself, he muttered something under his breath.
Why do I always look like the bad guy? Apologies aren't my forte, but I'll try my best. Okay, fine. I'm sorry.
Sorry about what?
I'm sorry for kissing you like that. I went too far.
He sighed and ran his fingers through his hair.
I didn't mean for it to turn out that way. It's just, I act on impulse, okay? It's difficult to control myself and... What am I saying?
It's okay. I get what you're trying to say. Thank you for the apology.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, if you try to pull any funny business in the future, just a fair warning. I know Taekwondo. I think I've bigged enough. Time to get back to the main issue. So, what exactly are all of you doing in my house?
Miss, please forgive us in our intrusion. We didn't know this abode belonged to anyone, nor did we have the time to take that into consideration.
What? What do you mean? You don't just barge into people's homes.
We wouldn't have had to if we weren't as wounded as we are currently. We just escaped from a deadly fight that could have ended our lives. Luckily for us, your home was near and the windows were unlocked, so we quickly came inside.
The last time I remembered, there were laws preventing strangers from stepping on private property. Although, considering the severity of their wounds, it had to be serious. I guess that explains the wounds, but not why he kissed me. He had absolutely no right to do that.
Well, lovely flustered lady, it's hard to explain, truly. We're not exactly normal.
Not normal? What are you guys, demons or something? I asked almost jokingly, but the boys seemed to take my question differently.
Well, yeah, actually, something like that.
We're incubi, miss. Demons who consume and use sexual energy of humans to survive.
Incubi? The fabled demons that existed to haunt humans and make them sex-crazed monsters? The mythical beings that could look like anyone just to get into your pants? The imaginary monsters you only saw in movies or on TV?
Hello? Did you hear him?
We're telling the truth.
Do you think she's still processing it?
Yes, and she'll understand right about...
Right. It was funny while it lasted, but it's time to cut the joke short. Incubuses don't exist, it's incubi. Illiterate fuck. There was no way they existed. That would be practically impossible.
Ahem. Incubi is the correct plural form. And yes, we do exist.
Prove it. As soon as the words left my mouth, I instantly regretted them.
Very well. Eric, go ahead.
Very well. My sweet, you're so tempting with such non-belief. Let me ease your mind with a tender kiss. I promise you'll enjoy every minute of it, and maybe you'll even want more.
What? Once again, I was lost in a pool of calm and serenity. Staring into Eric's eyes, I felt waves of heat course through my chest and onto my face, painting my cheeks red in their wake. I couldn't help but nod and agree to his offer. Yeah. Okay. With another kiss, my heart began to flutter once again in my chest, and my mind was sent spinning in a heated, passion-filled pleasure. Yet, I could feel my body drain of energy as he kissed me.
Alright, that's enough.
Aw, very well. I feel so much better.
As he pulled away, I was left in a mental mush pool. I felt weak in the knees, despite my will demanding me to stand straight in front of the boys before me. The world around me began to spin as I tried to speak. I think I'm going to...
Where are our manners? I'm James, and these are my brothers, Sam, Eric, Matthew, and Damien.
Miss, are you okay?
Shit. She fainted.
I couldn't believe it. Incubi. Real. It all spun around in my head until I saw only black. Floating in the darkness, my mind kept replaying the scene over and over again, reminding my body of the touch of the incubi's lips against mine. However, I began to feel the smooth silk around me and my eyelids unwillingly opened. Where? I awoke to find myself in an unfamiliar place. Where was Mum? Dad? I was pretty sure this wasn't my room. Oh wait, I lived at my grandfather's house now. Of course it would be unfamiliar. I rubbed my eyes and surveyed my surroundings. I was still in the clothes that I arrived at the house in, but I was laying in a silk-covered bed. I remembered coming in the afternoon, so why was it nighttime already? Suppressing a yawn, I stretched my arms. Maybe I should order some food for delivery. I was feeling pretty hungry. I was about to sit up, but I suddenly realized that I wasn't alone.
You're awake.
Huh? Gah! Since when was he standing there? And who the heck was he? A guy in my bedroom. Did we? There's no way! Sorry, I think I was saying my thoughts aloud. Why was I apologizing? To a stranger who only said 2 words since I woke up? Wait, he looked eerily familiar. Then it all came back to me. Incubus. He was an incubus. He and his brothers came here for refuge, and 2 of them kissed me, and then I fainted. And that was how things came to this. Oh! He was leaning against the far wall, looking at me. My heart began to race as I thought of the endless list of possibilities this situation brought me. I hated the thought of being under an incubus's power, especially in a bedroom. I instantly jumped up and grabbed a pillow, covering myself with it. I felt stupid, yes, but who knew what this guy could do? Do your worst! This time I'm prepared. He didn't move. I guess that he wasn't going to attack me. Sorry. One thing still concerned me, though.
I'm not going to use my powers on you.
Huh? How?
I can read minds. It's an ability I was born with. Each of us has a different ability, outside of our usual mind-altering powers.
Great, even more surprises. I grew even more worried about the situation I was in. I see. How long have I been asleep?
For a few hours. It's already gotten quite dark outside.
Well, where are the others?
My brothers are downstairs, cleaning up the blood from the lobby floor. And making you dinner as an apology.
Oh, okay. That's unexpectedly sweet.
Oh, it's the least we can do after invading your home, and 2 of us using our powers on you.
You've got a point. Right. I had forgotten about that. It still irked me that they had practically taken advantage of me at that point. Even if they were demons, it was pretty rude to demonstrate their powers by kissing me. I wasn't some kind of human plaything. All of this seemed pretty unreal. It was like something out of those romance novels that Naomi sometimes read. I wished I could have just went back to sleep and forgotten about all this. Maybe I should have called the police on them. Then I would never have landed myself in this situation.
Do you feel well enough to get out of bed?
Yeah, I think so. Whoa!
Trust me, I won't let you go.
I'm not so sure about this.
I promise.
Okay. I trust you. I was speechless. He was carrying me as if I weighed nothing. He was so strong.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
It's all right. I'm used to it.
I decided to close my mouth for the time being so that I wouldn't weird him out or make things more awkward than they already were. Well, he didn't seem to mind carrying me or listening to me talk, so at least things weren't too strange. Damien seemed very quiet and calm about everything, especially with the situation we were in. However, there was a sort of longing in his eyes when he looked at me that wasn't lustful. It was more in admiration? Once we reached the lobby, I decided that I felt well enough to walk on my own. As strong as he was, it was like he was carrying around nothing. I didn't want to make him carry me everywhere. Yeah, that would be mortifying. Thanks for carrying me, but I think I can walk by myself now. Not saying that I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it, not in a weird way, of course. It's not like I get carried around all the time. What I'm trying to say is that it was really nice of you to do that. I started to fumble over my words again. Real smooth.
It's no problem. I'll be heading to the dining room then.
Alright. See ya. He gently lowered me to the ground before he walked off quietly, disappearing into the shadows of the dark lobby.
Oh, hi!
Suddenly, a boy who looked around my age, or possibly younger, bounced up to me. He looked vaguely familiar. Oh, wait. Oh, you're Matthew, right?
That's me. Are you feeling any better now? We were all worried when you suddenly passed out.
I'm fine.
Really? Your face is kind of red. Do you feel sick?
No, I'm fine. I'm sure of it. I must have been blushing when Damien was carrying me downstairs. How embarrassing.
Well, if you say so. I hope Sam and Eric didn't make you upset.
It's okay. After all, I did hit Sam after what he did. And about Eric, I just wanted you guys to prove to me what you were saying. I suppose incubi are real, then. I wondered how exactly I got myself into this mess. First my grandfather, then a fight with my father, blowing up at Lisette, and now this? I certainly had a knack for getting myself into sticky situations.
Oh, I have an idea!
He shoved his hands into his pockets with a cheery grin on his face.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Is he trying to do a magic trick?
Ta-da!
What is that exactly? He smiled as if to wave it off, but when he opened his eyes and saw what he was holding, his face froze in shock.
Wait a second. What did I just make? This is...
What he produced from his pocket was a creepy-looking doll.
Ah, what is that?
I'm not sure. His face paled considerably and he dropped it onto the floor, scooting away from it frantically.
Get it away from me! It might be possessed by a demon or something!
You are a demon! But isn't he a demon himself?
That's not what I wanted to make! I just wanted to surprise you with a stuffed animal or just something to cheer you up. That looks like it came straight out of a horror movie.
He slumped his shoulders and looked down at his feet. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to look so dejected. I mean, it's certainly unique.
What? I appreciate the thought, but no thanks.
That's too bad. Are you sure? I picked up the doll and waved it around him. It was funny teasing him.
Gah! Help! It's gonna kill me!
Alright, I'll stop.
Anyway, I'm heading back to help out with the food. You can come over if you're hungry.
Something smells good. My stomach rumbled in agreement. I was starving.
Oh, the girl's awake.
Excuse you? I have a name, you know.
Should we really care?
Sam, I will roast that tongue for dinner if it doesn't stop flapping in that idiotic mouth of yours.
Psh, whatever.
I apologize for his attitude.
Oh, it's fine.
Good. I hope you'll enjoy the meal we prepared for you.
Meal? For a second, my mind didn't understand what James meant. Maybe it was the doll getting to my head and distracting me. Ah, that's right. Damien and Matthew mentioned that they were making dinner as an apology. Oh wait, you didn't have to.
We insist. Besides, it's quite impossible to undo our cooking, even if you command us to.
Alright, well, thank you. Matthew put down the last of the plates on the table and bowed a bit exaggeratedly to me, gesturing to the table with a sweeping motion.
Ah, there we go. Dinner's all served.
The table was filled with various foods from an eclectic selection of cuisines. One portion of the table was filled with elegantly plated Asian foods, and another portion some yummy-looking desserts. And there were yet more and more plates that I could possibly have imagined. Whoa, that's a lot of food. And it all looks so good.
We hope you enjoy it, my sweet.
What? Sweet. Me?
That's enough, Eric.
You're no fun, James.
I don't need to be fun, Eric. Miss, please follow me.
I didn't know what came over me, whether it was just his politeness or maybe his power, but I couldn't help but take his offered arm. James seemed very kind and intelligent, but aside from that, there was something that set him apart from his brothers. Not to mention, he didn't really seem to hold much appreciation for them.
Miss, I have to ask, why do you live alone?
Oh, well that's kind of a long story.
I'm all ears if you wish to tell.
No. It's fine. Maybe another time.
Very well. Here's your seat then.
Let me get your chair for you, lovely lady.
Oh, Eric was very charming and his smile pulled at my heart. The way he kept flirting with me definitely designated him as the charmer of the demons. Yet there was a little distance in his eyes.
By the way, I apologize for my behavior earlier. Stealing your second kiss like that.
Huh? Oh yeah. When I didn't believe that they were incubi. It's fine, I guess. I mean, you didn't just get up and grab a kiss for no reason.
I'm not as forward, unlike Sam.
Suddenly, Eric leaned in and whispered in my ear.
I won't lie though. I enjoyed kissing you and feeling you melt in my arms.
I was torn between smacking him and trying to play it cool.
No! That's going to sting.
Sorry, I panicked.
No, I was expecting that.
I drew my attention back to the dishes. I was both intrigued and slightly scared by the amount of food they made. Seeing my expression, Eric leaned forward and proudly smiled, gesturing to all of the dishes with a dramatic sweep of his arm.
I made almost all of the dishes myself.
Humorously enough, Matthew looked at him with a shocked expression, as if he was betrayed. His face changed instantly to that of a frown.
And I'm the Queen of the Nile.
What's that supposed to mean?
Me, you, and James did the work together, dummy.
It's you, James, and I, Matthew.
Little boys will always make mistakes.
Matthew looked at James in disbelief, probably for siding with Eric, and he annoyedly swiveled back to Eric to confront him.
I'm not a little boy. I'm barely a year younger than you.
Well, you certainly don't act like it.
I really couldn't help but laugh. Matthew seemed very much like a kid. He was adorable. However, I couldn't help but feel like in a way he was much more mature than the others. Especially Eric.
Huh? Is something funny?
No, it's nothing at all. Thank you for the meal, all of you.
Oh, you're welcome, miss.
Such a well-mannered young lady. Beautiful inside and out.
Eric, knock it off!
In agreement with Matthew, Sam cocked up his head and glared at Eric.
Seriously, you're getting really annoying with that suck-up act.
It was obvious that Sam was the bad boy of the group. He had this big, tough act, and it was obvious he was physically stronger than the rest of the guys. But was there more to him than that?
I'm just trying to be a gentleman. The young girl has already gone through so much. She deserves a good treatment.
There's a difference between being a gentleman and being an obnoxious flirt.
Schooled even by James. You're gonna need some cold water for that burn.
By the way, I don't believe we caught your name even though you know each of us.
Oh, I'm Alice.
It's a pleasure to finally know your name.
Yeah, that's a nice name.
They were all comfortable around me, despite the awkward situation we were in. It was as if it were natural for them to be around humans. I guess that was just how incubi worked. But I was still curious about one thing. Excuse me. All at once they looked at me. I didn't know why, but having all of them look at me made me feel kind of important. Like a queen or something.
What is it, miss?
I wanted to thank you for the food, but I still want to know why you all came here. I feel like I don't quite understand. Understand? Yeah, like being told that a bunch of incubi randomly appearing in your house was perfectly understandable.
Oh, how do we explain?
We were attacked. We came here to heal. What's so difficult to understand?
Now you're just being rude, Sam.
I'm just saying, how is that difficult to understand?
No, I mean, what specifically happened?
Well, you see, we've been traveling around for quite some time now. Just recently we came into town, but we were jumped by this band of misfits. So, in order to escape and heal, we came here for shelter. Again, we apologize for the mess we made.
It's fine, I guess. So, you're all better now, right?
Yup, all thanks to you.
Wait, huh?
You see, beautiful, we feed on sexual energy. But we don't just get it from kissing lovely ladies such as yourself. We can simply touch someone's hand to obtain sexual energy. Everyone carries sexual energy, you know.
I was still in shock about their powers. It wasn't just kisses that gave them power. It was anything physical. No wonder I was out for a while. The incubi intrigued me, but at the same time I could almost hear a warning siren going off in my head.
Is there anything else you wish to know?
Well, what do you all plan to do now?
Yeah, what are we gonna do now, James?
That is a very good question. We just got here and surely we'll be hunted again if we leave.
We can take him easily.
Not without more training, Sam. The result of that was clearly evident in our last encounter with them.
At that moment, I didn't know what came over me, but I suddenly felt sorry for them. They couldn't possibly survive out there. If they didn't know it was illegal to break into people's homes, they probably didn't know a bunch of other stuff. They probably would cause chaos all over town. Or on the flip side, they could be taken in for questioning and be poked and prodded like lab frogs for research. That was even worse. But most of all, they reminded me of back then. I was standing alone. The entire classroom was filled with laughter and chatter, but I stood in the midst of it, quiet and alone. It was strange seeing the whole world pass in front of me with such vibrancy, all while I stood there. On the plus side, I wasn't engaged in any of the drama that might have arisen, like scribbling on someone's paper for revenge or kicking someone too hard. It was kind of nice just sitting back and watching things pass by and life go on. I'd long before convinced myself that I preferred being alone. I often said to myself in encouragement,
Yeah, I want to be alone. There's no one I like better than me, so I ought to spend more time with myself.
but there was a certain bitterness that, coupled with being alone, made me feel so sad. There was a difference between being alone and lonely. I just didn't realize it at that moment. And even after that moment, my father, my mother, there was no one to turn to. I was so lonely. That's when I decided on it right then. I was going to see my grandfather. I didn't care if my father wouldn't take me. I was going to walk my way over there and see what he had to say about it. I'd never met or seen him before that. What better time to see him then? If no one else was going to help me with what I was feeling, I might as well have turned to him. So after school, I decided to walk there. I had no idea of how to get there, and I was armed with only a scrap of paper with the address scribbled on it. As a 7-year-old, I obviously had great ideas. I soon became lost. And like I always did when I felt lost, I just stood there on the sidewalk, back pressed up against the wall and eyes looking at strangers passing by. And like always, people continued to pass by and life continued to go on. I was sadder than ever. I'd ended up in that situation I was originally in. Nothing had changed. I thought that I was silly for even thinking that I could change things with my own hands. That was until a voice brought me back to reality.
Hun, is that you?
I looked up and saw an unfamiliar face, but it was obvious that whoever was talking to me knew who I was. And from that moment, things began to change. Life began moving its rusty joints, and I realized that things were moving along. Suddenly I'd become part of the crowd that moved like a blur past me. I was no longer someone who stood still and watched others hurry past me. Life had changed. I had changed. Because the very person who found me that day was my grandfather. I had the opportunity to help them. Though, would I? I wanted to, but I wasn't sure if that was the best idea. After all, 5 demons in my house wasn't exactly the living arrangements that I'd imagined when I first moved in. There was the matter of making sure no one found out about their powers. Thinking about them as lab rats made my stomach queasy. And even if they passed for humans, how would I explain having guys living in my house? Imagine if my friends came over. They would practically think I was part of a harem or something. Oh god, imagine if my parents came over. I think my mum would faint. Who knows what my dad would do? I think he would have him arrested on the spot. Ugh, this was hard. Maybe I should have written out pros and cons list before actually having to make that decision.
Don't worry too much about it. You have plenty of time to decide. Besides, you should do what makes you happy as well.
It was strange that I happened to remember what my grandfather said to me when I was little. But it did kind of make sense. They weren't in the same exact situation that I was in before, but I did want to help them out. I think it would ease my conscience and also make me a bit happy to give them help, as weird as that sounded. Clenching my hands into fists, I strengthened my resolve to speak up. Well, you could...
What was that, lovely lady?
That is,
Spit it out already.
You could stay here with me, if you'd like. As soon as I finished my sentence, the room became still. I'm not sure what went through their heads from my words. The silence in the air cut like a knife until I suddenly spoke up once more. It seemed like you all needed a place to stay, and, well, I just moved into this giant house, so it seemed like it made sense. It was still quiet in the room. I decided to keep talking. If you would like to stay here, though, there are 2 things that I need all of you to follow.
Yes?
First of all, you can't use your powers or deliberately do something that might harm me or any guest that comes over. Well, save for enemies, but you get the drift.
That sounds reasonable.
Second, you have to help me with any errands around the house. This place is kind of big, so yeah.
That is a generous offer, miss. Are you sure that would be okay? We don't wish to burden you any more than we already have.
It's alright, really. I mean, I just started living here myself, so I would appreciate some help around the house.
A wonderful idea. We'll live here and train while helping you with the house. Servants for the lovely princess.
What? Are you serious?
Shh, be quiet, Sam. I haven't slept in a bed for days.
Well, they all seemed to like that idea, except for Sam. And hey, I didn't really hate the idea either, even if they were incubi. It would be interesting to have 5 guys help me to take care of the house. given they would follow the rules that I just laid down.
Grr, fine! But we're not staying here forever. Only until we can beat up that group of punks.
I think that is a reasonable time limit for our stay.
Yes! This is awesome!
Also beautiful, if you need a bedfellow.
Eric, knock it off.
I was happy that they agreed. Maybe it was because I wasn't going to be lonely for a while. Maybe it was because they all needed help and my want to help people was fulfilled. I would never be sure.
So what are we waiting for? Let's celebrate and dig in!
Finally, I'm starving.
Instantly, Matthew and Sam began to stuff themselves with the food on the table. I noticed James's eye twitching in irritation, so I stifled my incoming laugh.
Really, you two? You're both acting like pigs!
Oh, let them have a little freedom, James. It's not like we've eaten recently either. I'm sure they've been starving.
Still, that's no excuse for stuffing their faces like backyard swine.
I almost couldn't hold it in. So I didn't. I couldn't hold in my laughter anymore. As I laughed, Matthew and Sam looked my way, faces stuffed.
Is something funny?
What are you laughing at?
I stopped to catch my breath. I leaned over the table and took a few breaths before replying. You both are so funny! Both of their faces turned a slight pink before they looked away from me and they swallowed the food in their mouths.
Shut up! We're not funny! We're hungry!
Well, we're glad that we made you laugh.
Shut up, Matthew!
What? I'm just saying.
See, James, it's entertainment for her.
They were funny to me. At least they enjoyed the food. As I watched, I took a couple pieces of food for myself and placed them on my plate before eating as well. Eventually, we all ate dinner together. It was strange, eating with just guys. But they were enjoyable to be around. They made me feel like a part of their family as we ate together. However, our peace was soon disturbed.
You turn the tables on me now, you trap me in your cage somehow. I can never escape from you, but baby, that's alright.
Huh? It's my mom. Excuse me. Hello?
Hey, honey, how are you? I'm sorry I didn't get to see you off.
Hi, Mom. Everything's fine. I'm actually eating dinner right now.
Oh, good, good. So there was food there. Well, your father wanted me to call and talk to you about having a house party tomorrow night to celebrate the new house and all.
A house party? Tomorrow night? So soon?
Your father insists. You know how he is with events.
I know exactly what she meant. He didn't like long, relaxing periods between important events. It was slightly messed up. I was expected to act on the drop of a dime, from moving immediately the day after a funeral to my grandfather's house, to now organizing a party. I know. Well, since I don't exactly have you two here to help me arrange it, I'm gonna need some time to prepare things.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, Suzu and Naomi can help. I have work, and you know how your father is.
I know. I have to do it myself. He won't help.
I'm sure it'll be amazing, honey. I have faith in you.
Thanks, Mum.
All right, I gotta go. I love you, sweetie.
Love you too, Mum. Great. Now how am I gonna do this?
Is something wrong?
She has to organize a house party for her parents.
Huh? How did you... Oh, right. Mind reading. But yeah, I gotta do it soon or my parents will be really disappointed. I'll have to stay up and organize everything tonight.
Hey, why don't we help you? That's what we're here for, right?
I don't see why not.
I can name a few reasons why we shouldn't.
Sam?
Back off!
We'll take care of everything, miss. Just leave everything to us.
That was surprising. I didn't think the boys would offer help right off the bat. I couldn't help but smile. I was actually rather thankful now that I let them stay. Now I didn't have to do everything alone. As I kept thinking about it, I couldn't help but yawn.
Feeling a little tired over there, princess?
Yeah, it's been a long day. At least tomorrow's the weekend, so I can sleep in. Then it hit me. Wait, where are you all going to sleep?
We found some guest rooms on the opposite end of the house from the master bedroom. I'm sure those will do just fine.
Oh, I got it. Alright then. I'm heading to my room to study and then sleep. I guess I'll see you all tomorrow?
Have a good night.
I will. You too. With that, I left the dining room and went to my room.
Eric, no.
What? I wasn't going to do anything.
Yes, he was.
Shh!
As soon as I got into my room, a wave of exhaustion hit me. Why am I so tired all of a sudden? I just woke up from that nap. I dragged myself to my bed and hauled up one of my bags. I opened it and grabbed my economics book, knowing that no matter how tired I was, I had to study at least a page or two before sleeping at last. The words on the page scrambled in my mind as I read through them. But after 2 or 3 tries, I managed to understand what the page was about. Equations. Ugh. Finally, I decided to change into my pajamas and head to bed. Today had been a long day, and I needed the rest. Hopefully tomorrow will be better. 3 days of surprises in a row would kill me. With that thought in my mind, I drifted to sleep, embracing the darkness of slumber.
You fucking pretty boys think you're all that, huh? Well, save that to the end of my pistol!
Huh? What's going on? I couldn't move my body. I felt like I was tied up and I couldn't see anything beyond the darkness that surrounded me. Yet I could hear the sounds of a heated argument coming at me from all directions.
One move and she gets it!
Let her go!
Matthew?
Come on, chicken shit. Fight us like a real man.
Like you scare me, Sam! Come on! Take one step, I dare ya.
Why can't I see?
Stay away from her, Malix!
And what are you gonna do, nerd boy?
Suddenly I felt myself pulled to one side, and arms wrapped around my body protectively.
I've got you. Don't worry.
Huh? Eric? As I was held in a tight embrace, I felt the world around me once again settle into a low, peaceful hum. The hostility of the dream before had faded into black as the arms around me rocked me comfortingly. Slowly, though, my eyes fluttered open and I looked up at the person holding me. Damien? I stared into the eyes of Damien. His face was pained with worry and concern, and I knew he must have seen my dream. Why did I dream of Eric holding me, though?
You can't control your dreams.
Oh, well, I guess you're right.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. What time is it?
It's 9 a.m. James and I were making breakfast when well...
You can't control your mind reading?
No, not yet at least. I hope to learn eventually, though.
Is everything alright?
Huh? Yeah, I'm alright.
That's good. I'm assuming you had a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm sorry for disturbing you both.
You didn't disturb us, miss. Besides, we'd rather make sure you're okay before anything.
Oh, thank you.
Now, why don't you come downstairs with us and have some breakfast? I'm sure some nice food will take your mind off of what you dreamt of.
It was embarrassing to be the damsel in distress once again. But I felt rather happy that James and Damien were concerned for me, despite only knowing me for a short time. I wasn't sure if it was just courtesy or if they were genuinely concerned. I couldn't exactly read their minds. Alright. The 2 boys led me back to the dining room, where the smell of bacon and eggs danced in the air. The smell wafted from the kitchen and made its way into the living room, making my stomach growl with need. Breakfast smells good.
We should be done with breakfast soon. If you want to sit down at the table, you can.
I nodded before sitting down. As I sat down, however, my mind drifted back to the dream I had. That feeling of hostility around me made my body shudder instinctively, even though I knew it wasn't real. However, as my eyes closed, I felt a hand place itself on top of my head, breaking me out of my thoughts. Huh?
Morning. You alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sam, the owner of the hand on my head, raised an eyebrow at me before rustling my hair and moving away to sit down at the table. He then barked towards the kitchen where James was working.
Hey! Is the food done yet? I'm starving!
There's no need to yell, Sam!
You're yelling too!
Don't argue with me!
From behind me, Eric appeared and sat beside me, rubbing his temples in obvious annoyance.
Can we not yell this early in the morning? It's not like we're in the castle.
Castle? For some reason, when I heard the word castle, I couldn't help but yell in surprise. These guys had a castle? Sam looked at me and smirked at my reaction.
Yeah, we have a castle back home. Our dining room's 10 times bigger than this room.
And wouldn't it be logical to not yell?
Whatever.
Soon James and Damien appeared, hands full of plates that carried bacon, eggs, toast, and waffles. They placed the plates down by each seat before seating themselves.
My favorite.
Finally.
Thank you for the breakfast. It looks amazing.
It's our pleasure.
You turn the tables on me now, you trap me in your cage somehow. I can never escape from you, but baby, that's alright.
All of a sudden, my phone began to ring, ushering me to pull it from my pocket and answer. Hello?
Hey, good morning! Guess who's at your door right now?
Right on cue, there was a knock from my lobby door. My heart stopped. Suzu and Naomi were here.
I'll get it!
My heart quickly began to pound in my chest. Matthew was in the lobby and he'd get to the door first. I instantly jumped out of my chair and rushed out of the dining room. As I passed through the archway between the dining room and the lobby, I saw Matthew reach his hand for the brass door handle, causing the world to go into slow motion. Matthew, don't! But before my words could reach his ears, Matthew had opened the door and revealed the surprised faces of Naomi and Suzu. The world around me stopped as Suzu and Naomi kept their eyes on Matthew, who merely stared back in fear and embarrassment. I could feel the air go from warm to freezing in a matter of seconds.
Hi?
I could not believe this was happening. How was I going to explain this? This week was already bad enough. To make it worse, I was frozen in place. Please, for God's sake, someone do something other than stand there.
Who are you?
Suzu! Let me explain.
What's going on here?
Who's at the door, Matthew? Oh.
Soon the other incubi appeared in the lobby with us. This situation was not getting pretty. I had to think fast. They're visitors.
Then why did one of them open the door? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It was no use! There was no time to lie to them. I felt helpless. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder and felt the tension in my body almost fade away. I turned my head to see James smile at me before stepping in front of me.
We must apologize, ladies. We know this situation must be confusing for everyone. Let's take this to the dining room and we'll explain everything.
I stared at James wide-eyed. Was he going to tell them who they were? Everything seemed surreal. Before I knew it, I was led to the dining room along with Suzu and Naomi, and sat across from their confused gazes. As Naomi and Suzu sat down, Eric and Matthew placed their untouched plates of food in front of them, surprising their guests.
Whoa, this looks amazing! Thank you!
Our pleasure, ladies. We hope you enjoy your meals.
Make sure you dig in!
I looked at Naomi and Suzu as they began to eat, visibly enjoying every bite they placed in their mouth. Hopefully the food would ease their minds for whatever James wanted to reveal. As Naomi and Suzu ate their impromptu meals, James and the other boys stood behind my chair, making me grow more red in the face.
So, Anderson, are you gonna tell us what's going on?
Well, you see, Gently, James placed a hand on my shoulder again, signaling me to just eat my food. As I began to eat, he spoke to Naomi and Suzu.
We are Miss Anderson's house servants. We were hired by her late grandfather to help around the mansion, but since he has passed, we now assist Miss Anderson with living on her own.
That makes sense. It's such a huge house.
A huge house for a wonderful princess such as Miss Anderson deserves the greatest of servants to care for it.
But why are you all dressed so casually and stuff? Aren't servants supposed to have uniforms or whatever?
Well, Miss Anderson allows us to get comfy while we work, so she lets us wear casual clothes.
Yeah, something like that.
We're sorry if we made the situation awkward earlier.
We're very sure that Miss Anderson is also still getting used to having us as her servants. It would be very hard to explain after just a day.
I guess.
So, if I may ask, what brings you two ladies here?
Well, we wanted to see how our friend was doing. Since it's the weekend and all, usually we hang out and just chill.
Yeah, like going to the arcade and stuff.
Or the Pink Lady Cafe.
There's an arcade?
That makes a lot of sense, ladies. Well, we don't wish to disturb you any further than we have, so we'll take our leave and start preparing the house.
Huh? Preparing for what?
We gotta prep the house for some sort of housewarming party thing.
Our princess's parents requested a housewarming party to be held here soon.
And by soon, they mean tonight.
Oh, well, I guess we can help out or something. Right, Naomi?
I thought you wanted to go to the arcade.
This housewarming thing is more important.
No need. We can handle it. If you'd like to, miss, you can go out with your friends while we handle things here.
Seriously?
Sam, not now.
Well, I wanted to help out, but at the same time I wanted to go out with my friends. James gave me a look of understanding, letting me know that if I left, everything would be okay. I had to make a decision. I'll stay and help around with the house.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Besides, it is my housewarming party. I should help out too.
Want us to help out as well?
I think we got it all taken care of. Thanks though, girls.
Alright, we'll head on out then so we're not in the way.
Sorry guys, I'll hang out with you guys soon.
It's all good, Anderson. We'll definitely come to the housewarming party tonight.
Thank you. I led them back into the lobby and walked them back to the doors, opening it for them with a thankful smile. They both gave me hugs before walking out to Naomi's car, which was parked in the driveway. And with that, they left. I was happy that they wanted to help, but I had to do this on my own. It was not their work, so I didn't want to force it on them just because they were my best friends. We had the entire day to work. The party was tonight and we had to do all that we could to make everything right. We sat down and talked about what needed to happen before the party started tonight. Each guy had been assigned a different part of the party to do, and right after lunch we began to work. Since everything was taken care of by at least one incubus, James told me I could assist one of them. The question was, who? Obviously we're gonna go with Sam and the front yard. I walked out to the front yard to see Sam not cleaning, but doing slow motions with his hands and arms. He was doing Tai Chi, a form of martial arts I'd previously learned aside from Taekwondo. However, he wasn't cleaning, which made me cross my arms and glare at him. Aren't we supposed to be cleaning the front yard?
You were taking too long. I already finished cleaning.
What? I looked around the front and noticed the windows were polished, the weeds were pulled and tossed out from the sidewalk. The lamps were wiped down and the stairs were swept. He really did finish cleaning. We literally disbanded a mere minute ago, though. Wow. You work fast. Sam didn't respond. He kept his eyes closed and continued to do his Tai Chi. For a guy who wanted to be a badass, I would have imagined him doing hard workouts or karate moves for practice. Tai Chi was not what I expected out of him. I stood there wondering what to do. Well, I'm gonna join him, obviously. I remained quiet as I stood beside him and began to move along with his movements. He was going slow, so it was easy to follow along.
What are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
This isn't supposed to be fun, okay? It's actually supposed to be difficult.
I know. Sam opened an eye and looked at me without breaking his motions before closing it and continuing. I followed along flawlessly, keeping to his speed. It was very relaxing, until I managed to trip over my feet and land on Sam.
Oof! Hey! Watch it!
Sorry! I'd landed on top of Sam, staring eye to eye with him. Sam and I couldn't stop blushing, nor did either of us move from the ground. I could hear my heart pound against his chest. Sam didn't move a muscle, but just stayed up at me in embarrassment. I eventually moved up off of him and brushed myself off with a large blush on my face. Sam sat up and rubbed his head.
Man, watch where you're going next time.
I nodded. He stood up and looked at me for a moment. I could see in his eyes that he was concerned if I was okay, but he refused to ask. I smiled before walking back into the house. I heard him sigh before I walked out of earshot. The hour of the house party had arrived. In my mind, I kept double and triple checking the essentials for the party. Knowing my dad, he invited his business partners and the executives of the Anderson Company to show me off. I stood in front of my mirror in my room, staring at my form as a million thoughts ran through my mind. It was just a housewarming party, but at the same time, it wasn't. It was my chance to show my dad that I was better than his expectations. It was a chance for me to see my parents as a woman. It was my test to see if I was really ready to live on my own. Well, not truly alone. I had the incubi to thank, but even so, I didn't have my dad guiding me or my mum helping me through living alone. A knock on my door broke my thoughts, surprising me. Who is it?
Hey, are you okay in there? Your parents should be here soon, so you should hurry getting ready.
Well, I'm ready, but...
But what? I'm sure you look fine, Anderson. Just come on out.
Alright. As soon as I opened the door to the hall, I watched as Naomi and Susie's faces turned from smiles to complete awestruck stares. What?
Dude, you look hot.
Yeah, you look amazing. Where did you get that dress?
I've had it for a while, I just never had the chance to wear it. I figured I might as well bring it out now. I stepped out of my room and closed my bedroom door behind me. As I walked down the hall to the grand lobby, the incubi stood waiting for me at the bottom, all dressed to the nines as proper servants.
Whoa! They really know how to dress well, don't they?
Yeah. I was slightly taken aback on how great the boys looked in uniform. Each had the poise of a perfect gentleman, even Sam. I slowly began to climb down the steps with Suzu and Naomi behind me. The boys watched as I descended the staircase one step at a time, like knights waiting for their princess. I felt my face slightly blush, but I quickly shook my head to try and regain my thoughts. As I reached the last step, James offered his hand out to me and walked me down the final step smiling.
As beautiful as a princess, miss.
Thank you.
So, are you prepared for tonight?
To be honest, no. I didn't feel confident at all. Something about tonight frightened me. I couldn't tell if it was the fear of my dad or of the guests that Dad's surely invited, but something about tonight's party left me beyond nervous. The other boys smiled assuringly at me, which made me feel a little better about everything. I looked at my phone that marked the time. Almost right on cue, the doorbell rang. I gulped. I could practically feel my dad's aura from behind the door. Sam and Eric quickly rushed to the door and opened the double doors wide to reveal my parents, both dressed in their best. Hey, Mum. Hey, Dad.
Oh my, I didn't know your bequeathment came with servants.
It was probably overlooked. Besides, who would deny good service?
I was completely shocked. My parents didn't question the boys? They didn't ask for verification or anything? I looked at the boys and noticed Sam and Eric staring intently at my parents. Were they using their powers on them? They had to be. There was no way they'd be okay with this otherwise.
I guess the servants counted as belongings to the house.
My mother quickly rushed to me and gave me a large hug. I hugged her back, inhaling her perfume. It had only been a couple days, but living away from the ones who raised me was hard. My mother soon let me go and looked at my outfit.
Gorgeous! You look so lovely. David, look at your daughter and tell her I'm right.
I looked at my dad, who was looking around the lobby like an inspector. I stood my ground, waiting for him to look at me. When he did, he let a small smile grace his lips.
Your mother's right. You look like you're all grown up.
The world around me stopped as my heart pounded hard in my chest. Did my dad just compliment me? On his own accord? My mother was grinning ear to ear at his words. I was beyond speechless. Thank you, Dad. However, his cold face quickly returned as he began to look around once again.
I assume that you're ready, then, to impress the rest of the guests, correct?
What do you mean?
The entire board from Anderson Toys is coming tonight. Even the vice chairman's son will be coming. All of them will be measuring your potential.
My potential?
To become CEO of the company.
I knew it. Something was off about tonight, and now this party had become much more than I anticipated. I gulped silently, but I nodded in response. I looked to the incubi, but they were continuing to be servants for my father's approval. I looked behind me and saw Naomi and Suzu raise their thumbs at me for encouragement. I let out a small breath before feeling my body accept the situation. I felt a weight in my gut, but I had to hide it. As if time zoomed forward all of a sudden, the main hall of the lobby was full of guests. Men and women in formal or business attire showed up to meet me and see my new home. I didn't expect many to come, but I was once again surprised that night. I shook hands with many officials and executive members, putting on the professional face my dad trained me to have. I felt overwhelmed, but I hid it well behind a small smile and a handshake. Many even asked me questions. I tried my best to reply as maturely as possible. I had to remember, say what they want to hear, not what you want to say.
So, how do you feel living on your own at such a young age?
It's been pretty good, actually.
I'm so sorry about your grandfather passing away. It really hit all of us hard.
Thank you for your condolences.
Do you have college plans?
Yes, I do. I feel like the questions came up one after another. It was tough to answer some of them because they weren't about me. They were about the company.
What do you think will happen with the company now that your grandfather has passed?
It will get back on track soon.
What do you think of the philanthropic policy the company has?
I'd be more concerned with making profits.
Do you think the company should expand from just toys?
It's a possibility. Eventually the questions stopped and I was back to being myself. Naomi and Suzu were mingling in the crowds and the incubi were doing their jobs. So I was all alone in a room full of strangers. It was unnerving to think about, but at least I wasn't being questioned left and right anymore. Suddenly though, my mum pushed her way through the crowd to me, bringing along someone I didn't know.
Honey, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This kind gentleman is the son of the vice chairman.
With my mother stood a man who looked only a couple of years older than me. He smiled and held out his hand to me, silently asking for my hand.
Hi, I'm Andrew Lewis. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Anderson.
Andrew was slightly taken aback, but gently smiled and lowered his hand with a nod in return. My mother smiled at both of us, which made me slightly concerned. Why was she excited to introduce me to Andrew?
So, you organized this party very well, Miss Anderson. I apologize if I made you uncomfortable in some way.
Andrew then chuckled nervously, bringing a soft fist to his lips to cover his laugh promptly before smiling at me.
I'm sorry if I seem a little forward. I've just been excited to meet Harold Anderson's granddaughter.
Huh? Why?
He used to talk about you all the time in the office on how you helped him refine his toys. I only attended meetings and heard all of the stories. You've helped a lot with the success of the company without having to actually work there.
Oh wow, I didn't know he talked about me. That would explain everyone's fascination with me and their rather personal questions. I looked at Andrew, who had a kind face to me. Something about him seemed off, and I didn't know what it was. He seemed to be hiding something. Whether it was good or bad, I was not able to find out. I felt someone walk up behind me, causing me to turn to them. Next to me was my dad, giving his cold stare to Andrew, who suddenly became tense.
So, you're Jared's son.
Andrew's body twitched slightly. Whether it was fear or insults, Andrew locked his eyes with my father. I couldn't help but feel the tension between them. It irked me how fragile the air had become. Enough to break it with the wrong word.
You're the one who wants to be the next CEO of the Anderson Company.
Well...
I stared at Andrew. This guy wanted to take my grandfather's place as CEO? I thought the vice chairman wanted the position.
David, leave the poor boy alone.
I'm merely testing the boy's conversational skills. Nothing wrong with that.
Of course not, sir.
And polite as well. Interesting.
If you'll excuse me.
Quickly, Andrew retreated away from my family into the crowd of people. I watched as he disappeared into the crowd towards the back of the house. I was worried, but I gave him his space. He obviously needed it.
Peh. He's not CEO material.
That's because you practically interrogated the young man.
A little questioning shouldn't have bothered him. He's obviously not ready for any title in our company.
I bit my tongue. I didn't want to make a scene with my dad. One wrong word and he'd lecture me in front of everyone. That was not something that I wanted at my housewarming party. I let out a sigh before looking at the clock. It was getting close to midnight, meaning that the party was going to end soon. I lowered my gaze at the window and saw a limo pull up. Huh? Whose limo is that?
Oh, that must be Lewis's car.
I'll go get him. Stay with your father so you can escort your guests out together.
Yes, Mum. My mother left my dad and me to slowly escort the guests out. My dad held his simple smile as he thanked each person for coming. I did the same. Andrew quickly passed the doors before I could speak. Eventually, only Suzu, Naomi, my parents, and the incubi were left. My dad suddenly walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder with a smile. I stared up at him, a wave of confusion washing over my face. What?
You did good tonight. I'm proud.
Oh! Thank you, Dad.
Keep it up and you'll be a good CEO.
Oh. Right.
Alright, your mother and I have to leave. I'm sure Naomi and Suzu need to leave as well. Just because it's Saturday doesn't mean you should stay up all night.
Oh, right.
Thanks for having us. It was a great party.
We'll come visit tomorrow or something. All right?
Right. See ya.
Good night, sweetie. Come visit us soon.
Will do. All 4 of my remaining guests left the building. All but my dad waving back to me. With the last of the guests gone, I sighed and sat on the staircase exhausted. That was tiring.
It's not like you had to do any work, though.
Give her a break, man. She was getting interrogated left and right.
She handled herself the best she could.
As expected, princess.
Since you're exhausted, why not head to bed? We can clean up.
Hush, Sam.
Are you guys sure?
Positive. It shouldn't take long.
Ho ho ho! It didn't take long to find you little shits after all.
I felt a hot shudder run down my spine. The voice from my dreams echoed through the air into my ears. I looked around, panicked, alongside the incubi. James placed a hand on my shoulder, trying to remain calm.
Don't worry. No one will hurt you.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
All of us shot our heads towards the doors, finally pinning down the direction of the voice. The doors quickly swung open, revealing a sight I would never have expected to see. Skin red as blood, eyes black and gold piercing into mine, roughened up clothes, and a pistol in his hand. I saw a monster. I covered my mouth to not scream at the sight. Dried blood covered the bandana around his neck as he smirked at me and the boys around me. Beside the red-skinned man was a similar-looking woman in matching thug-like clothes.
Aw, what's the matter, boys? You really didn't think I wouldn't find you, did you?
I hoped you would, you piece of...
All of a sudden, the man raised his gun at Sam's face and instantly pulled the trigger. We all gasped in shock, instinctively expecting to see a bullet run through Sam's face. But...
What the fuck?
What?
What should have been a headshot ended with a loud but empty blank shot. The pistol echoed its empty shots as the man grew more and more pissed, pulling the trigger over and over in aggravation. Luckily for my ears, it became quieter after its first shot.
Why the fuck won't you work?
This place is protected.
What did you say, Shrimp?
This place has a seal, protecting it from hellborn magic.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Ah!
The man growled and threw his gun at Sam, who was able to dodge it in time. The pistol bounced off the ground a couple of times before sliding further away, hitting the wall in a final stop. As it stopped moving, the gun faded into black flame that disappeared into the air.
The previous owner had this place protected by magic, Malix.
Malix. That was his name. His existence resonated in my memory from the dream I had. However, I looked to Matthew in the same confusion as Malix did. This place is protected by... magic?
It would seem that your grandfather had some sort of protective barrier around this house. From the looks of it, it only disables hellborn magic.
Malix's face grew to that of extreme anger, his fist tightening as if he was crushing a stress ball.
Then what's stopping me from dragging your asses out and shooting you then?
Out of pure instinct, I stepped forward and placed myself between Malix and the boys. With no power, Malix wasn't going to fight. I took that chance to stand up to him instead of being powerless like I was in the dream. Fuck off! Malix suddenly laughed wildly, staring at me in disbelief.
Whoa! Who let the bitch out of her cage? What is this? A reverse harem or something?
Malix grinned at me evilly, walking closer to me. What? All of a sudden, I felt a hand grip my hair and pull it back, forcing me to cry out and stare up at Malix. His eyes bored into mine as he cackled in my face.
Hey! Let her go!
Sam! Eric!
Within mere seconds, Sam had punched Malix square in the jaw, forcing him to let my hair go. As I fumbled back, Eric caught me in his arms, gently pulling me away from Malix and back into their group.
Come on, Sam. You and me, right here. Let's go!
Come on, asswipe!
However, before both could fight, the woman stepped forward and placed a firm grip on Malix's shoulder.
That's enough, Malix!
What? Who do you think you're speaking to, woman?
The girl who's going to help you kill them. Just not now.
Not now?
I stayed as the girl spoke down to Malix. She looked the same, just like pure evil. However, she seemed to be concerned for Malix. Or for me.
There's 5 of them, and 2 of us. Even if we come back with the gang, they can have the place surrounded by human police.
Then... we shoot everyone!
Think! If we shoot everyone, we'll be hunted. And it'll be a matter of time before makeshift paladins come and try to exorcise us.
The two growled at each other. If they could have used their magic, I could sense the fire would grow from under their teeth. Malix grunted and glared at the boys. He pointed at James, wanting so badly to use his fingers like a knife.
Just wait, pretty boys. We'll get you and fuck you up real good.
Then Malix turned to me, moving his finger to point directly between my eyes.
and don't think you're safe. Step outside! I dare you!
With that, Malix and the woman walked out of the mansion. The doors closed behind them, leaving the boys and I alone once again. I felt my knees give out from under me, forcing the boys to quickly turn and catch me.
Whoa, whoa! Are you alright?
Yeah. Why was he here?
He's been closely tracking us. Our blood trail from the forest must have led him here.
We should have stopped him and finished it here.
For once, Matthew, I agree with you.
I stood up and rubbed my arms, feeling the goosebumps Malix left behind on me. I couldn't stop myself from shivering in fear of his words. Malix, was he a demon?
That son of a bitch is not a demon. He's a devil.
A devil? There's a difference?
Yes, demons come from a different plane of existence called the abyssal planes. Devils, however, come from one of the 7 circles of a place humans know as hell. Despite us not being human, we are very different creatures.
We actually have brains, for one. Devils always like to cause trouble and try to kill or torture others for their own enjoyment. Demons, like us, know when to use our powers and when not to. We're not stupid.
Devils follow orders from higher-ups in their order, and their power only comes from their connection to hell. Demons all have free wills and don't rely on where they came from to use their powers.
This was all so confusing. Demons and devils and magic all existed, and I happened to land in the middle of it. What do we do?
You're safe. You've been protected as well.
What?
What Damien's saying is that the magic that protects this place also protects you.
Your grandfather must have cast it when you last saw him or something of that nature. We can sense its aura around your body.
I couldn't believe my ears. It was the 3rd day of surprises, and this one took the cake in being the most surprising. I felt my head spin once again. What did I get myself into?
Miss, please don't worry. We'll find a way to train ourselves and become stronger to finally finish this feud.
I'm gonna kick his ass right now!
Until then, we'll protect you as much as we can. If Malix comes back, we'll be here for you.
But what about going outside? Won't he...
Like we said, you have a protection spell on you. Even if Malix attacks you, he won't be able to use his magic on you. He'd be just like any other human you can fight back against.
Didn't you say you knew Taekwondo?
Well, yeah. I felt somewhat relieved that I was mostly safe from Malix. Still, I couldn't help but feel very nervous and apprehensive about the future. The boys were safe here to train and become stronger, but what if Malix did the same? Even more so, I was lost about how my grandfather knew about magic. I had to find out. At least I had time. I went to bed that night feeling nervous. Despite the words of the incubi, I felt like a target to something I'd never be able to explain or prove. Magic? Devils? Demons? How did this all even happen? Should I really meddle with the situation? They are only staying until after they defeat Malix. That's right. They said they'd only stay until after they defeated Malix. After that, my life would go back to normal. Temporary insanity, as Kay would say. The question was then, would I want them to leave? If my life went back to normal, then I'd have to care for the house all on my own. I'd get to focus on my life instead of being distracted by the boys. I'd have to. My life... Where was my life going anyway? I was under pressure from my parents with only my friends and the boys to comfort me. Without the boys, I'd have no way to hide from my responsibilities. Enough. Let's just sleep and deal with tomorrow when it comes. Defeating my sense of thought, I forced myself to sleep, unsure of what tomorrow had planned for me. Hopefully, whatever the future had for me, I would be ready for it.
I promise to be with you forever. You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you.
Please, let me love you.
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
I want to be with you.
I love you.
I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to go back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace across from my bed. A sigh escaped from between my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? Okay, let's make some coffee. I decided making coffee was my best bet on surviving the rest of the day. Why not? Haven't had coffee in forever. I got out of bed and made my way to the kitchen, unconcerned that I was in the pajama pants and tank top. I rummaged through the cabinets for a coffee machine and any makings for coffee. Surely my grandfather had some. A French press? Well, it's better than nothing. As I began to make my coffee, I checked my email and texts on my phone. No important emails, no text messages. I sighed. I quickly made my coffee just how I liked it and sat on the counter. But then I began to wonder, would this happen every day? I let the question linger in my mind. For a whole morning, I did not think once about the boys or Malix. Everything was peaceful. Everything was average. Nothing magical or dangerous or unusual. I simply drank my coffee as I let the thought marinate in the back of my mind. I returned to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under my covers to try and sleep again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes. Back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It was noon. Yet it felt like I'd slept for much longer. Why is time going so slowly? I sighed, got changed into normal clothes, and went out to the main hall and sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went out to the backyard in response to the noise I'd heard. In the yard were all 5 of the boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle with the other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. Hey! All at once the boys looked at me, frozen in their movements. I just stood at the doorway staring at them after my outburst. James was the first to break away from the group, stepping towards me.
Good morning. We apologize if we woke you up.
No, it's fine. I've been awake for a while now. I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's quite alright. We needed to stop anyway. We don't want to overwork Sam.
Oh, come on, I can handle more than those pity punches.
Your mind seems grateful that we've stopped.
Shut up, Damien.
Oh crap, we should probably make some lunch. I'm sure you're starving.
I can handle lunch if you'd like. You all seem happy to be very busy training to beat Malix. I'll take care of it today.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, why not? I'm not useless. I know how to cook and do other stuff too.
Well, no, I wasn't insinuating.
What he means to say is that we'd be really grateful if you could make lunch today.
No problem. As I turned to the kitchen, the boys went back to training. They seemed very determined to get better and to become stronger. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make... They need energy to train. They're gonna get that from chicken and rice, you know? Gotta keep their energy and strength up with protein. I took my time to make almost perfect chicken breasts along with some rice. Cooking wasn't hard unless you didn't know what you were doing in the first place. I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried that dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular. The other part of me wanted to just leave them be and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Maybe I could go out today while the boys focused on training. I'm gonna find one of the incubi. I quickly rushed back and grabbed a second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. I looked down each hall trying to find one of the incubi wandering so that I wouldn't have to go through each individual room finding them. I pursed my lips in irritation. Where the heck are they? I sighed, knowing that I would have to search for them in each room. I turned to head down the west hall before I suddenly bumped into an opening door face first.
Whoa! What the?
I quickly stepped back, regaining my balance on my feet and with the food in my hands. The last thing I wanted was the food on the floor. I shook my head and looked up to see Sam looking at me from behind the door in surprise. Being that I only saw his face, he was wet, so I assumed the door led to the bathroom he was exiting from.
Oh, crap. Are you alright?
Yeah, I brought food. What the hell? Why did I say that? I shook my head and acted like I knew what I said. Sam raised an eyebrow before looking to the food I brought.
Oh, hey. Thanks.
As Sam stepped out from behind the bathroom door and closed it, I was suddenly face to face with a shirtless and freshly cleaned Sam. A simple towel was hanging over his shoulders as he looked to me. I remained frozen, unable to tear my eyes away from the sight. Damn, he was ripped.
Hey, you alright? Hello?
What? Sam let a sly smirk appear on his lips before tapping my forehead with his finger. It was light, but I still felt pressure from it to push me back a bit on my feet.
You gonna give me my food, or do you plan to keep staring into space like a nut job?
Huh? Oh, right, here. I quickly gave Sam his food, glaring at him. He chuckled before quickly dropping to the floor and crossing his legs to sit. I did a double take down at him before joining him to eat. I was hungry, so might as well. Sam must have been hungry because he practically scarfed all of his food down before I could get 2 bites out of mine. Jeez, you eat fast!
Sorry. It was good, yeah.
Thanks? Sam sat in silence, waiting for me to finish. It was odd. It was not far from having a dog watch you while you ate. Nevertheless, I finished my food quicker than I normally did and looked to Sam, who somehow got his shirt and vest on while I wasn't looking. Damn, he was fast.
Alright then, I'm heading up to the roof.
Roof? Roof? He was heading to the roof? Why? The roof?
Yeah. Wanna come with?
Hold on. He wanted me to join him? On the roof? The roof of this huge mansion. How? Why?
I promise you won't fall, or whatever. Okay?
Okay. I didn't know why I was up for this, but I said okay. The small adventurous side of me was very happy with my decision, but another side of me was screaming at me, asking me why I did that. Sam took the empty dishes and placed them on a nearby stand before walking to a nearby window and looking to me. Wait, a window?
Come on.
I walked towards Sam, unsure of what he wanted to do. As I stepped to his side, he wrapped a tight arm around my waist and hugged me against his side. Whoa!
Better hold on tight.
I instantly wrapped my arms around Sam as he opened the window and stepped onto the ledge. I could feel him tighten his grip on me as he looked up and grabbed the end of the roof with his free hand. I gripped tightly to him, as he somehow was able to pull both of us up to the roof with one hand. He lifted me to the roof first before pulling himself up and sitting with a content sigh.
See? I told you I wouldn't let you fall.
Yeah. I sat up beside Sam, trying to shake off what had happened. He was a demon. I had to remember that, no matter how human he looked.
Pretty sight, huh?
I raised my eyebrow before looking ahead of us. I gasped. The sight was truly beautiful. The estate was settled on a high hill, so the view I saw made me feel like I was flying. I could see Chicago in the distance, surrounded by forests and suburbs, like the one I resided in. Something about the sight took my breath away. I silently thanked my adventurous side for taking the risk to come up here.
You know, it's things like this that make the human world worth coming to.
I turned to Sam at his statement, unsure of what he meant. He kept his eyes to the view, but I could see very soft amazement in his eyes. What do you mean?
I'm not like my brothers. I didn't come to get away from anything or to fulfill something. Whatever they may tell you their reasons were. I came because, well, they're my brothers. And that's that. However, I didn't expect the human world to be so pretty.
I didn't understand. The brothers were running from more than just Malik's? What could have possibly driven them from where they were? You all ran from something?
We all had our reasons for leaving the Abyssal Plains. James didn't want to deal with his problems. Matthew wanted to live with humans more than demons. I came because I didn't want to be without my brothers, so I left with them.
That's rather sweet if you think about it.
It doesn't matter. I came, so here I am.
I frowned and bit my lip slightly. I wasn't sure if he even wanted to be here with how he was answering. Still, I felt a small wave of confidence drive me to scoot closer to Sam. I wanted to try and be friends. Fate didn't like that, apparently. I found myself losing my balance and wound up starting to fall off the roof.
Whoa!
Instantly, Sam grabbed me and pulled me to him. He wrapped his arms around me, making sure I wasn't able to fall back down the roof. But that wasn't what made me blush wildly from ear to ear. I'd somehow landed and straddled over his lap. He was hugging me close to his chest. It was almost like a romance scene in a love story. I couldn't tear my eyes away from Sam as he stared up at me in concern.
I gotcha. You okay?
Yeah, I am. However, I continued to look down at him as he stared up at me. Neither of us knew what to do, and I could feel that we were both lost in that fact. As we looked at each other, Sam's face grew slightly red.
Hey, I might as well say it now, but sorry for being a dick when we met.
I must have been dreaming. Sam was being sincere? Why? However, as I stared, I could feel his strength weaken. He was shaking, but continued to hold me to keep me safe from falling. Sam, do you need energy? Sam's eyes widened before he looked away, refusing to answer, but refusing to let me go. I didn't feel any energy drain, so he wasn't trying to take advantage of the situation. That was it. He needed energy. But should I give it? I gently grabbed Sam's face and tilted his head to angle with mine, leaning in closer to him. I brought my lips to his and kissed him deeply. I didn't know if this would help, but it was how he got energy before. I shut my eyes, waiting for the draining feeling to reappear in my body. Sam didn't move, nor did I feel energy drained from me. I opened my eyes and saw Sam staring wide-eyed at me, but unmoving. He was unsure of what to do, and I had silenced him with confusion. I don't know why, but I felt both irritated and accomplished at the question, and at the look he was giving me. Where was his flirting? Where was his cocky smirk? From what I remembered, he took advantage of me when we met, yet now he was somehow intimidated by me. I pulled away and spoke. I want to give you some of my energy. You've used a lot of it, and I'm sure that the energy you took from me was only used for healing. Let me help you.
I mean, I don't...
Sam, if you don't want my energy, just tell me. But I'm offering it to you if you do. All of a sudden, I felt that familiar feeling of warmth run through my body once again. I felt my body slightly heating up as Sam pulled my body tighter to his. He regained his stoic gaze before speaking.
Just remember, you offered it.
Before I knew it, Sam pulled me into a gentle but passionate kiss. Heat erupted through my body as his kiss slowly and almost timidly got deeper. Sam kept an arm around my waist while I rested my hands on his chest. The energy from my body was slowly draining from the kiss, making me feel light and warm. It was also almost pitiful how comfortable and how willing I was in this situation. Still, I held no regrets. I was enjoying every bit of this kiss. Sam gently leaned back, pulling me along with him so that I was lying on top of him. I felt odd, yet comfortable to be the one in control. Sam wasn't as forceful as he was when we first met, and it felt almost magical. It was how I imagined the first kiss to be like, except with the energy drain. Soon though, the energy drain stopped and Sam gently pushed my face away to end the kiss. I stared down at him as we both panted for air. I'd never kissed like that before, and I was so lost in the moment that I'd forgotten how to breathe. Sam moved a strand of hair from my face to behind my ear, eyes still full of desire. The look in Sam's eyes though, I almost couldn't find the strength to pull away. I could feel the hold of his mind-altering spell fade away, but I still felt hot. Something told me that I wanted more, but at the same time I wasn't sure if I truly did want to give any more. I opened the opportunity and I was enjoying it as much as he was. I wanted more and I was gonna let him keep going. I wanted to keep going. I leaned down and kissed him again. Sam gasped against my lips, but continued to kiss back. I could feel him pull on the tail of my bow, releasing it and following his hand off from around my neck. He moved the ribbon to his pocket before gently unbuttoning the top two buttons of my blouse. The desire in my body drove me insane, forcing a moan to escape my lips as he ran kisses up from my lips down to my exposed neck. As he began to ravish my neck and shoulder in hot kisses, I leaned my head back and let a pleasureful sigh escape my lips. Sam was ruthless in his passionate kisses on my skin. Sam didn't stop touching and kissing me, making more moans and gasps rush out of my mouth into the open air. He may have been full, but he was as hot as I was. I couldn't even comprehend how much time we spent making out. I was so lost in the pleasure that I didn't care. Call it sinful, but I didn't care. I loved it. His touch, his kiss, his heat. I desired it beyond anything at that moment, even as he lowered his kisses down my chest to just above my bra. My heart was beating wildly in my chest. Something about Sam intrigued me immensely, but something made my heart quicken for him. It couldn't have been love, but it was too passionate to be lust. What was it? However, I began to feel dizzy, seeing the sky start to spin almost wildly. I gripped to Sam's shoulders, trying to signal him to stop, but my mind faded to black before I could let out another sound. I felt good. I didn't care that I was blacked out. I felt warm and fuzzy in the darkness. I never knew indulging in that kind of passion would be that good. I now just waited to awaken, hopefully in a good way. My eyes eventually fluttered open, adjusting to the sight around me. I felt familiar silks underneath me, letting me know that I was in my bed. I slowly sat up, stretching from the tiredness that still lingered. I felt a very soft pain on my neck and shoulders, and I could feel my swollen lips pulse gently in healing. However, when I looked down at my body, I saw that my shirt had been pulled back up and rebuttoned as if nothing happened between me and Sam. I was just missing my ribbon. Before I turned to get out of bed, though, I spotted my ribbon on the pillow beside the one I slept on. It was tied in a nice bow with a small note attached to it. I gently slipped the note from the tie and opened it to read it.
Sorry, I went a little too far.
I stared at the note, letting a small smile grace my lips. He went too far? I enjoyed it, despite the first-time circumstance. It was cute, though, to imagine him thanking me for something we both did and enjoyed. I brought the note to my chest, letting the memories of our meeting flood into my mind. I indulged myself too, Sam. I looked at the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:31 p.m. Yikes. 4 hours of being knocked out and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep longer if I wanted to. The remainder of the night passed by, surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect. But it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep, after the previous rough nights I'd had. felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly that next morning. No grogginess, no aches. Perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked at my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I'd gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time, 6:30. Perfect! I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs towards the kitchen. As I entered the dining room, I saw a plate with eggs, toast, and bacon sitting on the table. A fresh steaming cup of coffee sat next to the plate with the sugar and creamer on the side. I walked to the table and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Who made this? As I spoke aloud, a small red note caught my attention. Have a good day. Yours. My heart skipped a beat as I finished. I could tell it was from one of the boys. Maybe it was from him? I smiled before putting the note in my bag and eating up. The food was so delicious. I devoured every amazing bite. I looked to the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the doors, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. Before I could reach the handle of the door, however, someone took my hand. Huh? I turned to see Sam, who was holding my hand back with a stern look on his face.
My name.
Your name?
My true name isn't Sam. I want you to know my real name if something happens.
His true name? What did he mean? Why was he telling me this now? Sam gently pulled me to him and leaned close to whisper in my ear.
My name is Amaris.
As he said his name, I could feel it lock into my memory. Something in my head would make sure I would never forget it. Sam pulled away and stared at me, despite still carrying worry in his eyes.
If you're in any danger, any time, it doesn't matter when, call my name. I promise that I'll come and help you.
I stared up at Sam, unable to say anything. I could only nod in response. Sam nodded back before releasing my hand and heading into the dining room. Something told me that that name would be used eventually. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gates with Suzu waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about the homework and that coming day. We made it to school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed to and got our important books and necessities. First incident of the day. As I walked towards Suzu and Naomi, who were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hall, something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. Ow!
Hey, are you okay?
Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a look of complete innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little...
Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time that this has happened to me. However, it was now clear who was behind all of these incidents. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was the mastermind just from the look on her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. Oh, I'm gonna get her. Of course I'm gonna get her. I'd had enough. I felt adrenaline rush through my body as I pounced off of the ground and rushed at Lisette. I was not gonna be the only one with scrapes this time. I tackled Lisette to the ground, swiping and slapping her innocent face. She screamed in fright before trying to push me off and block my attacks.
Holy shit! Anderson! Stop it!
I wasn't listening anymore. I let my carnal need to get revenge take over as I began to pull at Lisette's hair to get better aim at her face with my free hand. I'd had enough of the bullying, the wounds, the insults. All of that was going to burn in the past as I scraped my nails in hand across Lisette's face over and over. My rebellion would be marked on her pretty face for all to see. Lisette pushed me off and scrambled to her feet, both panicked and angry at the same time. Her emotion was nowhere close to the anger I was feeling.
Are you crazy? What the hell?
I stood up very slowly, glaring daggers into Lisette's soul through her eyes. I must have had some sort of monster behind me. Or maybe I looked like the monster myself. But the gaggle of girls, Lisette, and even my friends had a look of pure terror on their faces. I have had enough of you, Lisette. You obviously won't stop unless I fight back. Well, guess what? You're gonna get it! I charged at Lisette a second time, shoving her hard against the lockers. She let out a yelp of pain as she smacked the back of her head against the metal behind her, before glaring and shoving me back. As I stumbled back, Lisette raised her hands, ready to fight.
Then come on, Anderson! Show me what you've got! I bet it's not much.
I felt myself snarl in anger before raising my own fists, remembering my taekwondo. I quickly snapped onto one leg and raised the leg to get a swift kick at her head, but she blocked with her arm and stepped towards me to jab at me. She had training. Not surprising. I didn't care at that moment. I bent back away from the incoming jab, re-establishing my balance as I placed both feet on the floor. Lisette threw jab upon jab at me, forcing me to block my torso and face with my arms and hands. Hit for hit, Lisette and I exchanged and defended blows at each other. It was indeed more than just a catfight. This was a vengeful duel. In my mind, all I saw was Lisette. All I wanted to do was make her stop, and if that meant beating her down, then it had to be done. We eventually gained a small crowd of people, all silent but observing the fight. My anger intensified and my hits became harder with each second that passed between us. I couldn't let her win. I wouldn't let her win. None of Lisette's girls dared to step in, apparently afraid too after seeing our skills and our individual fighting styles. Suzu was held back by Naomi's arm, despite both of them wanting to help me. They didn't wait long for it to end though. Suddenly, Lisette was pulled away from me and I was pushed against the lockers by strong force. Lisette hit the lockers as well on the opposite end of the hallway, letting out a girly grunt of pain. I looked up to see my art teacher, Ms. Gordon, holding me against the lockers with a look of surprise and serious concern on her face.
Miss Anderson, what are you doing?
I looked to see Lisette being held back by Mrs. Phillips, starting to cry innocently. I knew what was going to come out of her mouth, so I tried to push Miss Gordon off to confront her. Mrs. Gordon, however, kept an arm wrapped around me, keeping me back. I keep saying I meant Miss Gordon. No! Don't you dare start crying, Lisette! You started this!
Miss Anderson, get a hold of yourself!
What is wrong with you? What did I ever do to you? I couldn't stop the angry tears running down my face as I shouted across the hallway. Lisette and Mrs. Phillips stared in shock at my screams as Miss Gordon tightened her hold on me. I am so sick of it! Leave me alone! Eventually I lost my energy and I began to weight down on Miss Gordon's arms, letting my sadness take over and quench my anger with tears and swelling pain. I could feel Miss Gordon hug me to her to keep me upright as Lisette sniffled and confided with Mrs. Phillips.
I didn't do anything to her! She just attacked me all of a sudden.
That's a lie, Lisette! You tripped her on purpose. You've always been a snobby prick to us.
Never! I gave my condolences about her grandfather's death! I try to keep everyone calm. Is that so wrong?
You didn't even sound sincere! We know you were only pretending to be nice to spite us!
Enough! Miss White, follow me to the dean's office.
Lisette followed, wiping her eyes in the feigned innocence she knew how to play up. I remained still in Mrs. Gordon's arms. I thought it was Miss Gordon. Now you're telling me it's Mrs.? I remained still in Miss Gordon's arms, unable to bring myself to fight to get at Lisette again. I'd done my damage. The gaggle of Lisette wannabes would make sure I became infamous around the school. I didn't care. I made my statement on Lisette's face and body, and I wasn't afraid to do it again. Miss Gordon, however, wasn't done with me.
Come with me, sweetie.
I nodded and followed. My friends frowned as they watched me leave, but they headed to class without me. Miss Gordon led me to an empty classroom, which she had claimed as hers. It looked like all of the other classrooms, but art posters lined the walls. Many students loved the room, but hated one thing: the mirror in the very back of the room. It was one thing Miss Gordon loved to use against her students. With it, she was able to see who was using their phones and who was actually studying. Miss Gordon led me to the back of the room and sat me down in front of it.
What do you see?
Huh?
Tell me what you see.
I looked in the mirror and saw myself. My clothes were a little ruffled from the fight, but beyond that, I just saw me. Nothing about me seemed different than normal. I see myself.
Alright. What else?
What else? I don't understand.
Do you know what I see? I see a brilliant woman who has been working her butt off to try and find herself. She just has a little bit of adversity in her way.
What does this have to do with what happened with Lisette?
Listen, don't think about Lisette right now. She's just another student who doesn't know what you're going through.
I stared at myself in the mirror, unable to tear my eyes away. She was right, but I still lingered on what happened with Lisette. I know Miss Gordon was only trying to help, but I couldn't fight the thoughts in my head. Miss Gordon gently rubbed my shoulders, snapping me from my thoughts. I looked up to see her smile down at me through the mirror.
You know, those were some pretty interesting moves. Taekwondo?
Yeah.
You'll have to show me one day.
I laughed as she hugged me gently.
Look, don't let Lisette get to you, okay? You have your own battles to face, and you can face them just fine. Instead of fighting Lisette, focus on your goals.
I looked up at her and nodded slightly. It was cliche to hear, but she was telling the truth. I needed to focus on myself first. She gave me a small packet of tissues and told me that she would handle Lisette. The fear about my family learning of this that had quickly appeared had vanished when she promised to keep me out of this as much as she could.
Everything will be fine now. You're a good student, so I'll let you off with a severe warning. Just don't get into any more fights, okay? Now, head to class.
I nodded before heading to class. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this? Why was he gonna pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I'd played the entire album with no one showing up. What the hey? Dad's never late. Especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal error? How do I not have signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed at my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary, feeling their hands on me. I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey!
that voice. It sent a fearful shiver down my spine as it whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. All I knew was that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb and I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sound zipped past my ears, first of the interior of the car, then the outside. Then an echoey space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wrap around my eyes was eventually removed from my face and my bounds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere for you.
Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes. Ugh.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
Almaris! All of a sudden, a bright purple light engulfed the room, causing the devils around me to cover themselves.
What the?
Ah! Gusts of wind rushed past me, almost forcing me back. I covered my face with my arms, bracing myself and standing my ground. I tried to peek through my arms to see what was going on, but the light continued to shine brightly. As the gusts slowly started to die, the light began to fade, revealing a very pissed off Sam. Sam.
Don't worry, I got you.
At that moment, Sam didn't even give Malix a chance to breathe. As I blinked, I saw Sam's fist ram itself into Malix's cheek, sending the devil flying back against the wall of the warehouse we were in.
You motherfucker!
Sam was relentless. He quickly followed Malix to the wall and began slamming his fists into Malix's body. An imprint of Malix's body began to form into the wall as Malix was beaten in. The remaining devils stared, trying to figure out what to do, help Malix or watch in silence. Eris, however, walked up beside me and crossed her arms as she watched with an amused smirk on her face.
Get off!
With a blast of heat, Sam was forced back from Malix. Sam slid on the balls of his feet, covering his face from the burst of heat that forced him back. Malix, on the other hand, was practically on fire. His menacing eyes glared deadly daggers at Sam as Malix gripped his gun.
You're dead, Incubus!
Malix pried himself from the wall and began to fire hot bullets at Sam. However, none of the shots made it to Sam's body. In the blink of an eye, Sam had disappeared from his spot and reappeared at Malix's side, ready to lay a heavy punch to Malix's head.
Too slow!
Malix, though, wasn't as slow as Sam thought. Malix quickly turned to shoot at Sam, who barely had the time to dodge it. It quickly turned into a fight of Sam using his speed to dodge and try to hit Malix, and Malix using his gun and devil-like skills to try and lock onto Sam's appearing form. It was almost too fast to follow. However, I could tell something inside Sam had changed. He wasn't holding anything back in this fight. It was as if something incredibly demonic had taken a hold of him and forced each punch he threw, and each step he made. Was this the extent of demon power? I didn't have a chance to answer myself. As Sam tried to dodge Malix, Sam tripped and landed on one knee with a loud thump.
Gotcha, bitch!
I gasped in horror. Sam had no chance to dodge or run. I could only stare, petrified, as Malix charged forward and jammed the barrel of his gun into Sam's mouth.
Eat hellfire, Incubus!
Then, at that moment, something in the air changed. The air instantly went from frantic to still in energy. What could have been described in tone as the color red quickly turned into a deadly mix of purple and green as everything started to blend together all at once. My eyes never strayed from Sam's face. However, even as it changed, his eyes began to glow a bright golden color as Sam began to bite down on the gun in his mouth. As the trigger was pulled, the gun was snapped in two between Sam's teeth. Small fragments of the gun flew everywhere while the look on Malix's face went from confused to petrified. Before Malix could utter a single response, Sam let out a giant animalistic roar, sending waves of fear down my spine, and tackled Malix to the ground. I stared as Sam began to slam punches into Malix's face, one right after another. Sam's skin began to morph and shift with each punch, changing from human to something else. Before I was allowed to see Sam's new form, a pair of hands quickly covered my eyes. Instinctively, I reached up and gripped them, trying to pull them off. A voice stopped me.
It's me. Don't look.
I listened carefully and let the last two words linger in my mind. Don't look. Why? What was being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. I could still hear Sam screaming and grunting with each punch he rammed into Malix's face, with the occasional cracking of bone and blood spatter echoing through the air. Maybe it was better that I wasn't able to see.
That's enough, Sam!
Almost instantly after James's command, the sound stopped. The only thing anyone could hear then was Sam's pants and grunts for air.
Malix is dead, and you've lost your glamour spell.
Shut up.
Glamour spell? What did he mean? Why did Sam sound so different? What was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
I froze. Look human? They didn't look like humans after all? What did they look like?
Like demons.
As if Matthew knew what Damien was talking about, Matthew spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer. Here. Let's go. You gotta regain your glamour spell and you're all out of energy. Come on.
Fine. Whatever.
I could hear the small clinking of glass being passed before hearing Sam guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The feel of the air around me gently began to warm back up, insinuating that everything had returned to normal. Finally, Damien moved his hands from my eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Eris, had fled. On top of Malix's body was a dirty sheet that was quickly turning red from blood. I could see that Malix's face was completely caved in, making a dip in the blanket. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them, including Sam, looking like nothing had happened. What just... I tried to speak, but everything zipped around my head at the whole event, and I felt like speaking wasn't possible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what and how and when. As we all walked out of the warehouse, I looked to Sam for some sort of sign that I wasn't dreaming. Sam kept his eyes down and away from me. It was over. Malix was gone and the boys were finally safe. A wave of relief ran through my body at the thought of never having to deal with that group ever again. At the same time, a pang of realization hit the back of my mind. Okay, so we're gonna end it there. I know that I know that these are quite long. I'm gonna consider this chapter 1. For this run through of Sam's. If you want to go check out the other routes, then I do have playlists on the front of my YouTube page. As of recording this, though, I have not done any of the other routes. I'm only sticking to Sam's route right now. By the time you watch this, maybe I have the other routes out. So if you want to go check out the other routes, I have a playlist of all of my playlists on the front of my YouTube page. I'm assuming it's still there. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to go check out my Twitch to watch it live if it's still going. Even if it's not still going, I'm probably still doing romance runs every now and again, so you can check out one of my other romance runs, maybe suggest a type of game that I can play. I'm always looking for new Otomes to play, so please do suggest them to me. Yeah. Check out my social media. I'll have it all put down in the description of this video. Yeah, check out Seduce Me for yourself if you haven't played it already. It's free, you can play it yourself. And it's a really good game, and I would really suggest, you know, giving support and trying to get this fandom back alive, because I know that this has been out for so many years that the fandom is pretty much dead at this point, and it would be so cool to get this fandom back and up and running. So yeah, stay sharp, cite your problems, and I will see you in the next video. Or if you decide to head on over to my Twitch channel, then I'll see you in the next stream from the Silent Swordswoman. Goodbye!